In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Alex Traiman happens to be the CEO of JNS.org. I am really excited, going back to Israel in just a couple of weeks, June 18th. And for the second straight year, I will speak at the second annual JNS International Policy Summit. Great list of speakers. I was told by Huckabee, he texted me this morning, he's not going to be there. But we'll have Bibi Netanyahu, Mark Levin, Ron Dermer, Alex, myself, Morton Klein, Victoria Coates, whole bunch of great people. So, Alex, I can't wait to see you, my friend. How are you?
Can't wait to see you as well.
No, it's going to be a great couple of days, 3 days at the beautiful Waldorf Astoria in Jerusalem. I arrive on June 18th, and again, I'm very excited about it. I know when you hear what I had to say there, Alex, you're in New York a lot. You're a New Yorker. And Big Nick, man, I know that. And you wear your yarmulke in the streets here in New York. You don't take it off. You're not going to allow those people to intimidate you when you're getting rockets fired at you every night at your house in Jerusalem. So I think you probably like my advice, yes?
Absolutely, and I was very pleased when I was there just a couple of weeks ago and I came into your studios, but I saw lots of Jews on the street wearing their yarmulkes, very clearly Jewish and just going about their lives. And it felt like, okay, just do what you need to do. And in terms of, getting your ass kicked once in a while, that's what happened over here on October 7th. We got it really good, but we could see that it's actually made us a lot stronger when you determined that you need to fight for your existence and you're willing to do that.
3 years coming up in October, hard to believe. So the big story today is that as Trump continues to try to get this peace deal done with Iran, which they want no part of. I mean, it's funny. Our guy is doing his best and want no part of it. But I guess at one point yesterday, Trump and Bibi, well, not really Trump and Bibi, Trump ripped into Bibi Netanyahu. Somebody heard Trump say, "What the F are you doing?" And when I say F, Trump actually uses the curse word. "You're effing crazy. You'd be in prison if it weren't for me. I'm saving your ass. Everybody hates you now. Everybody hates Israel because of this." This is supposedly what Trump screamed at Bibi yesterday, with a bunch of people in D.C. saying Trump was legitimately pissed. So I sent that to you this morning. I said, are these two fighting again? Here's what you said to me. Don't believe everything you read. This plays well into both Trump's and Bibi's favor. So are you saying that this conversation didn't happen, or it did, but it's not nearly as harmful as the press wants you to believe?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, first of all, this is another report from Barak Ravid. He's a reporter that I think has gotten the story wrong more often than any other journalist. I tell people all the time, I said, if somebody would get your taxes wrong as your tax accountant time after time after time, you probably wouldn't go back to them to do your taxes again. But people keep going back to Barak Ravid like he's a reputable source on this. And he does have sources. I know Barak Ravid, and I'm sure that somebody came to him and told him that that's what happened in that conversation. Does that mean that is what happened in the conversation? Doesn't mean that it was a tense conversation. I'm sure that there's a lot of tension here. It's clear that Trump wants there to be a ceasefire between the United States and Iran. Iran is trying to link up the Israeli Hezbollah conflict into that ceasefire. So certainly there's tension. But for Netanyahu, we're getting attacked, nonstop, and drones in the north. The things are blowing up in the north of the country, and Israel's military doctrine has changed. A ceasefire for Israel means that if we see Hezbollah moving or firing, we're going to fire back, and we're going to fire back much harder. In terms of how does it play into everybody's hands? Well, it's clear that Trump is not putting the military pressure on Iran right now, but Israel's able to do it by putting the military pressure on Hezbollah, and then Trump can say, "Look, I'm holding Bibi back." So that works in Trump's favor as well.
Yeah, it is a much different dynamic because, Iran is not going to be attacking Cincinnati today. They're not going to be dropping bombs in Brooklyn today. So, while we're taking care of business because eventually one day and maybe one day soon they'll have the nuclear capacity to do that, the truth is it's not right now. And you guys, on the other hand, every time somebody makes a move, you get bombed, whether it's Hezbollah in the northern part of the country. And obviously you had to deal with all these terror proxies over the last 3 years and that brutal day on October the 7th. So it's kind of easier for Trump, and I love the president, as you know, to call out Bibi when the truth is you guys, you sitting right now on the phone with me in Jerusalem, you guys are the ones taking rocket fire.
Yeah, that's right. And even the situation with Iran directly, it's clear that Israel would prefer and was ready to go fly side by side again with the United States to try to finish this job, because we know that if there's going to be any deal now, that Iran is going to continue to try to consolidate, is going to use whatever dollars get released through sanctions relief and whatever rebuilding money goes back into Iran. And there were talks, we saw reports of as much as maybe $300 billion. If that will be released into Iran, we know that some portion of that money is going to be going to funding terror proxies. Some portion is going to go towards trying to extract that enriched uranium or to rebuild the nuclear program. And some is going to be poured back into developing ballistic missiles, which are going to be used against us. We know that they'll be used against us because they have been used against us. So we also understand that if you don't finish your job now, you're just kicking the can down the road yet again. There will be future rounds of this conflict. And so what we're seeing now is that Iran is actually turning into just another theater in this war, the same way that we had intensive conflict in Gaza, then there was a ceasefire, then we go back, then there's a ceasefire, the same thing in Lebanon, there was a ceasefire, now we're fighting again, there will be a ceasefire with Iran, but we had 12 days of war a year and a half ago, in June, and now we had 6 weeks of war, in February and March, and we know that if there'll be a ceasefire, that there's just going to be another round of this later.
Yeah, well, hopefully much later, because my daughter Ava arrived in Tel Aviv this morning. Well, somebody, Alex, she's actually staying at Johnny Daniels' house this week because he's in New York, and I'll be there now in less than 3 weeks. I want to shift the conversation quickly to New York. I know you guys wrote a whole bunch of stories about me all over Israel, 3 different papers the last couple of days about how I called out Mayor Mamdani. I said Mamdani wants Jewish people dead. I'm doubling down on that. Until he comes out and demonizes the Intifada, I'm going to say if you want to globalize the Intifada, you want Jewish people dead. So I'm not apologizing. I'm doubling down. That's the way the mayor feels. That's how I feel about it. So you guys wrote a whole bunch of stories. But why I'm getting to this is that he didn't go to the parade, but Smotrich did. Bezalel Smotrich, who happens to be the Minister of Finance in Israel. And Mamdani was pissed about it. He made comments on television. He considers Smotrich to be a right-wing Israeli crazy. He's the guy responsible for genocide and all these ridiculous allegations. Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York, even put out a tweet about Smotrich. Letitia James, the attorney general in New York. It reminded me, Alex, of the night they all came after me after I called Mamdani a couple of names a couple of months ago. One by one, they line up for this creep, this mayor, and they come at people. In the past, it was me. Now it's Smotrich. What are your thoughts on New Yorkers trying to take out the Minister of Finance?
Well, Bezalel Smotrich has been a very competent Minister of Finance here. He's appreciated by many of the ministers and the members of his coalition. Responsible for a genocide that didn't happen, right? It's like you haven't had a genocide in Israel, but the man that's responsible for the genocide is him. Even though he doesn't control the military, he doesn't control the military policy, and you just have somebody that represents the views of a large portion of the population here in Israel. To the political right for certain. Does he believe very staunchly in Jewish life and in Judea and Samaria? Absolutely, he does.
So do I. By the way, so do I. I'm sick of. I'm waiting for the day that.
Live?
Yeah.
Where should Jews live if they don't live in Judea?
Right. That's why we're called Jews. I mean, one of these days, and President Trump has been the most courageous and greatest president by a mile. Truman is 1,000 miles behind him in terms of how good he's been to Israel. But one of these days, somebody has to be courageous enough for sovereignty in Judea and Samaria. That's the bottom line. It's got to happen.
Yeah, and I think when Smotrich comes to the Israel Day Parade, instead of beating down on him, I mean, this is a man who, number one, loves Israel, number two, loves Judea and Samaria, but number three, loves the U.S.-Israel relationship and believes very strongly in that. That's why he came to New York to participate in the Israel Day Parade. So he should be welcomed with open arms. Somebody that wants to actually strengthen the relationship, not harm it, which is what Mamdani and Hochul and others want to do. And unfortunately, I would even say that there are members of the Jewish community, Jewish leaders, that say, "Oh, we can't stand Smotrich, we can't stand Ben-Gvir." They're actually delegitimizing Israel and its government by saying that all the time. We don't walk around saying, left and right. We can't stand Marjorie Taylor Greene and we can't stand Thomas Massey. Like we don't just do that every minute. It's not always great for the relationship between the countries to do that.